Anyone who's a regular listener to this show knows that I am always interested in finding not only better political outcomes and policy outcomes and election outcomes, but to get all of those things, always interested and on the lookout for better Democrats and better candidates. And along those lines, when I read about my next guest's upcoming, or I imagine already started campaign, I wanted to talk to her. She kindly agreed. Marie Newman is a candidate for Congress in Illinois' 3rd Congressional District. She is running in the Democratic primary against the incumbent, Dan Lipinski, and I'm sure in a minute she will tell us why. But without further ado, Marie Newman, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us, why primary? I know you ran against Dan Lipinski once before. You came very, very close to unseating him. Why are you challenging this incumbent Democrat?
Well, I think Illinois 3 wants a real Democrat that worries about everyday issues. And I have had 50, almost 60, I think now, meet and greet since January. And one of the things I like to do is build policy with the district so that we're in complete alignment. And nothing could be truer than to state that people are worried about healthcare for all, number one. Absolutely, bar none. They're worried about being able to pay their bills. A lot of folks in the district, and this is very true in the nation, that a lot of folks are playing Russian roulette with their bills. One month they'll pay for health care, another month they'll pay rent or mortgage, another month car payment or prescription drugs, but not all in 1 month because they simply can't achieve it. So what is that a symptom of? The symptom is that 80%, nearly 80% of the nation actually is living paycheck to paycheck right now. The income divide has even grown wider since the beginning of the recovery. And the recovery actually, for the most part, has worked very well. But unfortunately, the income divide is getting wider and wider. It's polarizing our country and creating family issues, mental health issues, in general, trying to afford life issues. So for me, I think that this district is better off with a real Democrat who will care about affordable child care about a paid leave package, care about making the income divide less and working on bringing up wages and empowering unions. So that's why I'm running.
So tell us a little bit about the Illinois 3rd District. What kind of district? I gather it's part of the Chicago area and then out toward Joliet, but I don't really know what kind of folks live there. Would it be considered by most a blue leaning, or tell us just about who the people are you're running to represent.
Let's start with the kind of the politics of it. It is so Hillary Clinton won the district by 16 points in 2016. Bernie won it in the primary by 8. So it's solid blue country. We have a wonderful mosaic of folks in this district, about 29% Latino American, 9% Arab and Muslim American, and then the rest is an amazing mosaic of everybody you could possibly imagine. So it's a wonderful district, and it's very emblematic of the nation, and I love it. And I am a staunch 3rd districter who has lived here most of her life. Born and raised here. I have union grandfathers, veterans in my family. Folks that have worked hard for a living, and I include myself among those groups. So with that, we have this great mix of union households, healthcare households. Transportation is a really big deal here. And one of the key things to know is that in this district, we're made up of workers and working families in the middle class. And those are the folks that need our help the most, right? And need to partner with us. And I like to say I'm running with the district. So as a team running with the district, we want to work on all these problems together because we all understand what the district needs.
So you've mentioned a couple times, so that's interesting because, and again, we're talking with Marie Newman, who is challenging the incumbent Democrat in Illinois' 3rd District. So that's interesting to me for a couple reasons. One is, very progressive district. It sounds like Democrats there are very progressive, went solidly for Bernie. Went very solidly hugely for Hillary in the general election by 16 points. And yet you've been saying that and I have reason to believe this is true, but I want to hear it from you, that your opponent is, to use your words, not a real Democrat. So what do you mean
Right.
when you say that?
So, we have an interesting history here with the Lipinski family. So Bill Lipinski, his father, had the seat for 20 plus years. And then in 2004 decided, after he had won the primary, only 2 months out from the general election, that he would retire. So in true Chicago machine style, he decided that he would get together with his pals and the other committeemen to appoint a new Democratic nominee. And it was really convenient that the best one for the job also had the name Lipinski. So he nominated his son to be in his place for the nomination. And then everybody literally that voted in the general ballot that year thought they were voting for Bill Lipinski, not Dan. So then they built a dynasty, right? And because this is largely a very busy district, we're all working 1 and 2 and 3 jobs, right? So nobody has time to do a lot of research or run for office. A couple of people did try to run against Dan, and they did the typical put a sham candidate in there and machine dirty tricks and that kind of thing, and didn't make it. So it was always assumed, because Dan's so conservative, that the district was conservative. Well, lo and behold, in our efforts, the campaign and the district and I last season in the 2018 primary cycle really revealed why that is. While he is a very conservative voter, the district clearly is not. And the district spoke loud and clear because we got to 49% of the vote. Now, I did not have nearly the name ID that he did, and didn't have all of the DC insiders working for me 24/7. But we did get to 49%. So I think that's really emblematic of that it, in fact, is not a conservative district. But that dynasty of almost 40 years, people do have inertia, and they felt like, well, who is she? And they may not have been aware of me or the coalition that I'm a part of. So now what we are trying to do and build here is make sure people understand that this is a very strong coalition. We're all working together, and it seems to be working very well.
So it sounds like your opponent, your primary opponent, got into office because he knows a guy who knows a guy, first of all. And I have to tell you, as you were telling me that story, it came back to me. I'd forgotten all about it, Marie Newman, but I remember it infuriating me at the time, just being a very frustrating story of the way that, I strongly suspected when I read about it at the time that the father knew he was going to step aside, ran because he knew he wouldn't have meaningful opposition, and then gave it to his kid, and that ain't right, as we say. Now, having said all of that, you've also said that, you've alluded a couple times to Dan Lipinski's extremely conservative voting record. Give us some examples of his conservatism.
Sure. So starting with Obamacare, he voted against Obamacare. He was the only Illinois Democrat to vote against Obamacare, and one of just a handful in the entire nation that voted against Obamacare. And now does not believe in healthcare for all, does not believe healthcare is a right. And so that's a problem. That's a game changer right there, because 75% of my district wants Medicare for all. So we have that table setting. And then just recently, probably 5 or 6 weeks ago, decided that he would be the only Democrat in the entire Democratic Party in Congress today, the only one to not support the LGBTQ Equality Act, and cited religious reasons why he could not follow that or support it. So he's also on the record saying that he would never support the ERA. So what that tells us is, between LGBTQ folks and women, if he doesn't support those two populations, that he does not support 60% of the population. So if he doesn't believe in equality for 60% of the population, that's disqualifying for me, that he doesn't support the Constitution. So it gives you a little bit of a flavor in terms of his values. Other things, he's not supporting paid leave. He is frequently on the opposite end on many economic issues that are basic to the Democratic platform, like Social Security and those types of things. He has just recently decided that he is going to sign on to the DREAM Act. We all pushed him as a team. The district and I pushed him to sign on to the DREAM Act in the last 4 weeks of the campaign last time. So we're all very proud of that. So he will do that, but he still shows signs. He frequently will say he's pro-wall and those types of things. So
pro-wall? You mean Trump's wall? You mean that wall? You mean build the wall?
I think the way he says it is that he definitely believes that there should be a wall in certain areas and wouldn't object to any proposal. He would look at any proposal for types of walls. I think that's how he says it.
Well, so this sounds like a guy who is very conservative for his district. And by the way, on the Equal Rights Amendment, more conservative than Gerald Ford, for example, Republican president who supported it. But okay, that's him. What about you? My understanding is that 2018 was the first time you ran for public office. What made you decide to do this?
So I looked around the district for a long time. I had been asked to run many times, right? I had smaller children, wasn't quite ready to take that plunge, but had been an advocate for gun safety rights through Moms Demand Action. I was spokesperson for Moms Demand Action. I started an anti-bullying national coalition nonprofit program called Team Up to Stop Bullying. I had been an author on for schools and parents. I wrote a book around how to collaborate on anti-bullying systems, and on and on and on. I've advocated for many issues. I also have had a long career in marketing and management consulting. And as a result of that, when I look around and saw not just the dysfunction in Washington, but Dan Lipinski's record specifically, knowing that the 3rd District was a place that was positive and filled with opportunity and great potential, quite frankly, that was not being taken care of, I did start to watch him over the years and realize, wow, this guy is really conservative and he's a complete mismatch for this district, to the point where most people refer to him as a Republican. And so, in fact, there are some Republicans that, if they hadn't known on the ballot box that he wasn't, just assumed that he was. So with all that, started watching that, and then Trump was elected, right, in 2016. And it really was striking to me that, wow, this guy is now the leader of our nation. And we have this completely mismatched guy as the 3rd District leader, so to speak, representative for the 3rd District. I can't affect the presidency, nor will. I'm never running for president, but I can sure as heck affect the leadership we have here. So that's when we put the campaign together in probably right around January of 2017. And took off running from there. And so when we made it to 49%, I felt very proud of my team, the entire district. They all worked very hard. So I kept the work up after I lost the race in March of 2018 and went back to the neighborhoods and to the communities and learned more and worked harder and built the coalition out farther and farther and farther to the point where it's really incredibly strong now. So we're in a really good position, and I feel strong. I feel more compelled than ever to run.
So I know you've gotten a lot of support from progressive groups, at least for your last run, and I imagine for this one as well. Have you gotten a lot of pushback from the Democratic establishment? How's that been going?
Yeah, I mean, there are Democratic leaders and politicians that are supporting me right now, for sure. There's absolutely no question there. If I lump the DCCC all into one place, that's a problem right now. They have this new dictum that where it is, if you're a consultant, you're not allowed to work with a challenger like me, and that creates a lot of challenges. So I had a consultant team set up, and several of them had to leave the campaign because the DCCC said that they could not work with me and threatened them. So that created a lot of expenses for my campaign. So it was very expensive. And then it also created, a time void. I had to go out and interview all new consultants. So it was effective in its goal. Now, the DCCC's goal is to expand the party and to protect incumbents. So I have no issue with that, and they should do their job heartily. But then I also have to do my job heartily, which is to challenge an incumbent that shouldn't be in Congress. So the way that I look at it is they're doing their job. I do think that they're overreaching right now and being unfair, but I can't cry in my milk, right? I've got to keep charging ahead and win this thing.
So, okay, and unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it pretty much there, but I think you're adopting a very generous attitude towards them. I will commend you for that. And before I let you go, Marie Newman, where can people go to find out more about your campaign, and who knows, maybe even kick in a buck or two if they feel like it?
Well, that would be lovely. I always appreciate that. So you can go to marienewmanforcongress.com, or you can go to our Facebook page, our Twitter page, Instagram. All of those will get you to the same spot, but it's marienewmanforcongress.com.
With a
thank you so much.
With a 4 or FOR? Marie Newman?
No, FOR like the word.
Okay, all right, got it. All right, well, Marie Newman, candidate for Congress in Illinois' 3rd Congressional District, best of luck to you, and thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.